Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow. If you've been watching on Channel 31 in Pit Lane or if you've been watching on the YouTube channel, this is the In Pit Lane Afterparty. Just a few of us getting together on a Thursday night, having a chat about, some of the stuff that broke after we actually recorded the program on Tuesday night and issues raised and some of your questions. We'd love your questions. If you're out there watching for the first time and you're watching us live, jump onto the chat and the comments and make some comments, ask some questions, say hello, and we'll say hello back to you. That's the basic idea. But joining us tonight, once again, we have a cast of several. Joining us tonight, we got Pete, we got Chris, we got Doc, and of course we got Stuart. Dave Stillwell is up in Townsville, of course, and he's going to be up there for a couple of weeks now because. We sort of knew that this was happening, but that's become a double-header now, so they're going to be up there. And let's face it, there's worse places to be stranded at this time of the year than up in
Townsville.
And
he pinched my BP as well too.
Sorry, Doc?
He pinched my bottom, running on empty, and he wants spare some E85. So Race Fuels had to do an emergency run with the B double tanker up there at the last minute to supply fuel for the Super 3. Super 2.
Yeah.
And that's why. So if anyone's got some spare E85, please donate it to In Pit Lane. We need to get around the traps, please. So hopefully they've got all our fuel.
Don't know what I'll be doing with E85. If I put E85 in Getsy, it'll explode. So anyway, it's been
E85 in the Valiant. It'd corrode out the lines like you wouldn't believe. Got to be careful if you're running a classic car or a race car.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, they run in the race. They run in the supercars, of course. Now, I mean, that's
all pure sugarcane, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the.
Well, hopefully, because when you make it from corn, you've got to use 3 gallons of gasoline to make 1 gallon of ethanol. The sugar beets way of doing it is much more efficient, but tell that to the Yanks.
Yeah, well,
good point.
No, good day, Russell, and Box is back with us. Box. Yes. We're getting over the shock of the Grand Prix being cancelled. We're all very, very shocked and surprised about that. Both Grands Prix. So we'll talk a bit about.
You're using the wrong adjectives. I think you mean pissed and annoyed. I'm going to be blunt. They could have been figuring this stuff out months ago. There was no need to string it out. It was.
There's the people that rent their residences out around the Grand Prix track there at Albert Park and also on Phillip Island that are now crying. Their tears are spilling onto the pavement as we speak because they don't get to hire the house out for $10,000 for 5 days or 7 days. And on the other side of the coin, on the penny, is the people that still live there that have too prude to hire their house out or lend it to anyone else or let anyone else stay with them and are absolutely over the moon that they don't have to hear going past their front window all the time.
Yeah, I had
a long time since they've sounded like that.
You don't hear that.
Yeah, that's it. They don't sound like that. They don't sound like that anymore.
Oh, yes, well, look, my impressionism has wavered since we haven't heard them for a while as well too.
Yeah, it's That was the thing. I mean, the last time that I went, it was Rich and I went with Richard Outram, and we were standing there, and we were chatting, and I turned around and I said, "This is incredible." I said, "We're standing here during a practice session for a Formula One Grand Prix, and we're chatting like we're chatting now, with cars going past, everybody." And I said, "And we can hear each other." And then someone about 4 meters up the top said, "Yeah, and we can hear you too." It's like, and everyone was just thought, oh, real, like they are so quiet now. It's like, and then the 2-seater comes out, and you go, oh yeah, now I remember what race engines sounded like. Yeah, that was great. But anyway, it was an interesting weekend. Yes, finally a victory for Save Albert Park. The two who aren't dead yet.
There's only 2 tree huggers left, is there? Okay.
Oh, I mean, the last time I saw them,
there's plenty of trees for them to hug, though.
They were all about 75.
All that money from the Grand Prix is paid for all of that upgrades to the Albert Park area, and there's lots of trees and fresh plants.
There's still plenty of maple leaves everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Paul, this is a controversial statement from Paul. Formula One's better now, as you can hear the cars working instead of just screaming. I don't know. I like screaming. And in cars too.
They can get a combination.
Yeah, there's a joke there I could say.
Yeah. I'll
But
behave.
I think the biggest screaming from the race over the weekend would be more the complaints about the penalties.
Oh, that's okay. I
The
thought you
schmozzle a couple of those.
You kept it clean. I thought you were going to go elsewhere with that, Stuart. But thanks for good stuff.
Yes, Australia's own Michael Massey, not exactly the most popular person floating around. Pete, from your point of view, I mean the penalties to Lando and to Sergio Perez. I mean, what did you think? Were they justified?
In the sense that Lando didn't appear to make contact with Sergio, I don't think it was justified. But I think once they did it, once they handed the penalty to Lando, I don't think it warranted points penalty on his license. But I think once they handed the penalty to Lando, they then had to do it to Sergio. And I think there was one other instance where there's a similar thing happened where someone was overtaking and went off the track and a penalty was handed out.
Yeah, that was Sergio and Leclerc at the same time. And frankly, all three penalties were a complete, absolute joke. First one, Lando where's he going to go? It was just pure racing in. The second time around, where Leclerc runs off the outside of the corner, if you have a look closely when the contact occurs, Perez has still got his left or his right rear tyre on the rumble strip on the inside of the corner. Where's he going to go? It's not like he can turn the corner any tighter and go off the track. Leclerc turned down on him, and both of those penalties should have gone to Leclerc, not to Perez.
Yeah, it's a hard one. If you have a look at
those opinions are not necessarily in favour by in pit lane; they are purely. I'll leave out the legality statement. No, look, I agree to a certain extent, Stuart. I agree with you about the penalty situation. I'm not going to lay blame anywhere because I'm not going to sit on the fence and get splinters anyway. But I think just the principle of the matter is, I mean, seriously, the guys are going. I'm going to slight exaggeration. They're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. They're making instinctual decisions with their movement of the car. They're driving the fastest prototype four-wheel vehicle in the world. So they're not going out there to run into each other. They're not going out there most 99% of the time, unless your name is Sebastian Vettel, to try and run anyone else off the track or take anyone else out. Sorry, Seb, I am a fan, but not of you just not ramming everybody everywhere all the time when you feel like it. However, so yeah, I think in the context of the matter, they're racing, they're going as hard as they can. Yes, they're competitive, but I think Stuart might be in somewhere the realm. Does the penalty fit the crime?
And they're going for gaps, and that's what racing drivers do. I mean,
someone who got sandwiched at the start.
Yeah, we finally had some good racing. Finally had racing where they were passing, and they start handing penalties out. Find me a pass that happened on that track that weekend that didn't involve DRS, and I will show you a piece of video with Daniel Ricciardo. That is the only pass that happened without DRS that wasn't penalised.
And that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of a shame, as we said, as you can see on the bottom there, the passing of Carlos Reutemann, a name that I grew up with, former Ferrari driver, and never became world champion, but was very successful as a driver. Had a long battle with illness and died at the age of 79. So unfortunately, there's another one to add to the roll of honour at the upcoming Le Mans on Radio Show Limited. I mean, it's always a very emotional time when we find out, the people that we've lost from the sport over the previous 12 months, and it's going to be a very, very long list this year. But But yeah, I think the interesting thing about the Grand Prix at the moment is, and Lewis has come out today and said it, is the fact that the it's really motivated him. One of the reasons he re-signed, apart from several loads of money, is that he said that he's out there. He really wants to keep racing because he wants to keep racing Verstappen, and he wants to race under the new rules against Verstappen, and he wants to set up that rivalry. And he doesn't want to get to the end of this year and sort of go out on a losing note and have people go, he sort of, he moved aside as soon as Verstappen started to win, he gave up and walked away, and he said, I don't want to do that. He said, I want to race this guy because that's what I'm a racer. That's what I want to do. It's fun. So.
And also, Adrian Newey and Christian Horner have put put a floor pan underneath him with some wheels that actually can get around the track just as quick as the Silverado, which has been every other manufacturer hasn't been competitive the last few years. So the combination of Max and the Red Bull seem to be working at the moment, and a little bit of as we always say, Brett, you've always said competence is everything. You've taught us all that, and Max seems to have bucket loads of that as well too. So it's and good. It makes it more for an interesting series. It's you're not just watching a black and a green car going around the track, and it's just a combination stir fry. Who's going to win when Valtteri gets told to just let Lewis go past, which is, we'll buy you an extra hot dog and can of Coke after the race.
Yeah, I mean, to their credit, I mean they left it too long, but and it shows the power that obviously that Lewis has within the team. The fact that they really did take 3 or 4 laps to sit there and obviously fight it out between themselves and get probably something on high, because Mercedes management apparently have a very strong input into what goes on during the race. So I imagine there was a conversation went on somewhere with someone saying we really do need to let Valtteri go past, otherwise we're going to lose that spot as well. So.
Yeah, and also the other factors is that it's come out during the week, and Christian Horner's gave you the standard issue. It's a good time for us not to become complacent. So thank you for bringing up that in its timely manner, which you always do when you start to hit the top notch. Also, I don't know if anyone noticed, but it's worth having a quick look at because not always. The competitiveness and training goes on the track, and it's all about qualifying and test days, etc. The Ferrari Formula One test simulator has been given approval for its 2022 version as well. So check that out.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Ferrari have basically said that they are definitely concentrating now on the new car and the new rules. They're not going to. There are some upgrades to come. For this year, but I mean, basically, what they're really concentrating now is what's happening next year. So, that'll be interesting to see those cars, and we'll start to see more artist impressions and more actual cars. Hopefully hitting the test track fairly soon. Also, yet another great weekend for Lando Norris. There's no doubt he's the other one you've got to throw into that equation now. I mean, he's getting closer and closer there all the time. He was genuinely competitive with the Mercedes at least. He seems to have taken just that extra step in front of the Ferraris, and unfortunately also taken that extra step in front of Dan Ricciardo as well, because I mean, Dan once again had a poor qualifying session, came back through the race and was doing reasonably well, but then dropped back towards the end and finished a little bit, and still finished in the top 10, but both Perez and I think Leclerc went past him. So unfortunate. So that's unfortunate for Dan, but no doubt about it, Norris is clearly a talent.
Yep.
That's missing some parts of a car on it that Stuart
That's
just
your
brought up on
Formula
the
One
graphic.
simulator for Ferrari.
That's what I said. It's missing some parts of the car on it.
Yeah, it looks
more
like
a Beast module.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It looks like the lunar module. Looks like it's just touched down on the planet Jupiter or something. But
I was going to
yeah.
say those shock absorbers just a little bit big for my car. I won't have to borrow those.
You want to
I
see?
would like to point out the analogy there of landing on Jupiter. That would be flat as a pancake before it got anywhere close to the surface.
Well,
Atmospheric pressure more than the amount of boost run in a lot of drag racer cars.
I don't know. I'm not sure if
lot.
anyone knows this, but I wonder what the metal. Not talking about the suspension or the struts or whatever, what shocks are that are around it. Obviously, it's meant to gyroscope and provide G forces and movement around for the driver when they're in it. But I wonder, just out of curiosity, what the main frame is made out of. What sort of steel?
It wouldn't be steel.
Yeah.
It'd be aluminium or magnesium or
Lightweight.
weapons grade unobtainium.
I like it. I like that call. Yeah, except for on the blacklist or on Craigslist or one of those illegal. What's it called? The dark web.
Dark web. What's that? Haven't you got Tor browser and can look at the rest of the web?
I'm not usually into illegal activities, but I was hoping someone would enlighten me.
It's not illegal. It's just been banned by the government, and it's only our government.
That's true. Just don't get caught with it. Good evening, Stilly. I just saw the caption on the graphic across the top.
Yeah, I think we've got on via audio. I mean, come in number 20. Come in number 23. Come in.
Radio,
Dave.
In Pit Lane Radio Channel.
10-4, Rubber Ducky. Good evening.
How you going, northbound?
Yep, checked into what was advertised as sunny Queensland, but it's actually quite rainy and quite moist and close tonight. So I'll join you guys in a little bit when I'm slightly more decent, and then I'll duck out for a run up Castle Hill.
Did you happen to catch the show on Tuesday night, Mr. Stilly?
I did. I'm very much looking forward to picking up some of the Racing Legends picture books for my nieces and nephews. Because if you get
that's why I thought you just said
race cars early, they'll never.
You're cutting in and out a bit there, mate. That's why I'm just trying to chip in for you. That's why I thought you used the moist word there, because the moist word was the one that you probably deliberately did to get the free book. We lost him, have we?
Yes, I think we've lost.
He got a bit too moist, I
Dave
think.
up at a bit too moist up at Townsville, but he'll be joining.
So what we're saying is it's the wet season up there, is it?
Well, it's not the wet season. I mean, but it's tropical, and it's. I'm just hoping that if there is a bit of rain around, that it continues to be around for the weekend, because that could make things interesting. Although, so Dave, now that you're back, what's the situation? Will you be staying up there now? Are you staying the extra week? Oh, he dropped out again.
And he's gone again.
Man. I think he was squelching his gumboots there for a second. So I heard, that's a technical term.
I hope he was squelching his gumboots.
That was a technical term for the interference it was producing. Go on, Stuart. Off you go. Throw a curveball at it.
But anyway,
No,
so we've got the next.
That's curved well enough already.
The next round of Formula One is at Silverstone, where we'll be seeing for the first time the sprint race. And George Russell has come out and said, he's obviously, they call him Mr. Saturday Afternoon. He's the Saturday Afternoon special. He's performed really, really well in qualifying with that Williams, but he's not sure that with this sprint race qualifying set up that it's going to be good for him and Williams and or any of the other smaller teams as well. That it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm not keen, but I think Pete, you weren't keen on the format, were you?
Not really. I mean, to me, it's like how it was about 20 years ago when it was all in qualifying just for an hour or so on the Saturday. So that's all it is, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how seriously they do take. I imagine some teams will take it more seriously than others in terms of, because obviously they don't want to be damaging their car. I mean, that would be just insane if the red mist descends and somebody does something really silly to get one extra grid position by making a last minute move up the inside or around the outside of somebody, and they mess up they wreck their car for the rest of the weekend. It's not going to go down all that well.
That goes back to what we were saying a couple of weeks ago about having the spare car that they could just run to. But you'd be thinking the team orders would be before those sorts of sessions. Do not bin it. Don't bin the damn thing. Because, they keep obviously a little bit of a suspension package there for all four corners. They've got a couple of front clips there, the front wings, and but they, as we all know now, they when they travel around the world, even to some of the local countries that are close by their manufacturing bases, they don't carry a lot of spares with them. That's just, they do a little bit of rubbing, and that's all they can really, that's all the cars can really appreciate. Because as we saw how fragile they can be, and look, the commentators, I think, were compensating a little bit too much. They say, oh, they're not meant to go this direction or meant that direction. They're tough this way and they're tough that way. But really, they're not tough full stop. I mean, as we all know, they can just use it. They can lose an end plate of a front wing winglet or something like that. And no, I'm losing all this downforce and I can't, my aero's not correct. And so, I mean, they seemed a little bit super sensitive. And that's when we've said in the past about some of the guys that are out there racing, the true racers like Alonso and Daniel to a certain extent, and it doesn't matter what motorsport you're in, the guys out there, doesn't matter if it's got a couple of bolts that are falling off and loose and rickety, they'll just go out there and just throw the thing down the road and try their best.
I think, too, no matter how much you contrive these things and you put in, extra races and things for positions on the grid, the cream will always rise to the top. So I think it's still going to be the same old that finishes up at the top.
You mean the money rises to the top?
Well, the one thing that they've got in their favour, of course, at Silverstone is most of the teams are obviously based in England, so it's going to be a lot easier for them. That if anything is damaged, that they've got more of an opportunity to get to the workshop and get stuff replaced. But hopefully they get. Hopefully they get they don't damage anything, and it'll be something interesting. It'll be something new. There is live from Townsville, from the hotel room. Dave Stillwell's joined us, and so apart from the weather, so as I was saying before you dropped out, are you up there for the 2 weeks now, or are you coming?
I come back on Monday, and then I'm back up on Friday night to do 2 days, and then back the Monday after that. Unfortunately, with the amount of motorsport events still calendared for the rest of this year, I'd run out of annual leave if I stayed up for a lovely winter trip to Townsville, which of course we all look forward to. This is one of the things we all look forward to in the Team Medical Australia group of events is the Townsville event, particularly when you escape a Melbourne winter.
Good on you, buddy.
Just no stops in Sydney at the moment, right?
Yes,
and he lost.
It's nice. Yeah, I mean, it will be very different from the situation at Winton this weekend. Now, it was pointed out last week the super trucks are not racing because of the whole border situation. A lot of those guys, most of them are based interstate. Some from New South Wales, so they're obviously not coming down. But the meeting is going ahead. With the under 2 litre sports sedans, 2 lots of XLs, including our mate Richard Outram. Richard is preparing. That's why he's not on with us tonight. He's still sort of burning the midnight oil, getting the car prepared for the weekend. So if you're up at Winton on the weekend, catch up with Richard. You can probably use a hand. Actually, he's probably flying solo up there in terms of.
And wish him a belated happy birthday, which we all did the other
Yes,
day.
and, yes. If you're watching, Richard, a happy birthday, happy birthday to you. I sent a message on Facebook, but yeah, happy birthday for yesterday, and yeah, good luck on the weekend up at Winton. So yeah, pop in on the weekend and just wander in and see Richard and say hi, and yeah, I mean, be prepared to get your hands dirty if necessary, because
Yeah, just find a wheel. Grab a wheel brace or
he could probably use a hand.
A wheel brace or a jerry can or something like that, and give the guy a tip, and yeah, he may even take some advice on how the racing, what line to take, or where a braking marker might be.
Well, they're going to run on the short track, which I think is fantastic. I was looking at some old footage, because if you find everything on YouTube, and I was looking at some old Calder Park footage, but before the extensions, when they were running on that original track, and that used to provide great racing, that short circuit. There was some terrific races there. In fact, if you look on our channel, on the YouTube channel, if you go back far enough, I think we've got some state series stuff. I think we got the sports sedans from the short track when they did the night meeting there many years ago. So that was probably early 2000s or something. But they were running on the short circuit that particular meeting, and was very easy to cover, and they provided great, fabulous racing. So Dave, what's your role up there with medical? It's so what's your exact role on the weekend?
So I'll be communicating with all the medical vehicles around the circuit as a representative of Team Medical Australia, which is a all-volunteer organisation made up of doctors, nurses, and paramedics and motorsport professionals such as myself. So it's an all-volunteer gig. We'll be part of a massive team of Motorsport Australia volunteers that always put the event on with a smile, working hand in hand with the Supercars administration to put on a fantastic event. And of course, I couldn't tell you last week, but we did get an email earlier that said, hey, don't tell anyone this, but can you do 2 weeks in a row? So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of the Super Sprint round, having 2 different formats at the same racetrack, 2 different sorts of tyre allocations, potentially 2 different sets of weather back to back. It was really positive last year during the middle of COVID when we had that. So really looking forward to what comes out of that this weekend, but mostly meeting up with our North Queensland crew and enjoying a little break from the, shall we say, frosty conditions that greet you on a ride to Melbourne ride to work in the morning in Melbourne.
Yeah, certainly a major break. I'm very. We're not going to join you up at Townsville, but thankfully Stuart and I will let people know. But we're heading somewhere to warmer climes in the next couple of weeks, and I don't know about you, Stuart, but I'm sort of looking forward to being up in 30 degree temperatures again.
Yeah. I've just got a note there. It looks like Dave's mastered the art of being able to throw his voice. There was no change in the video, but this eloquent sentences just kept coming.
Ventriloquism?
Yep, something like that.
He's a man
yes, it's often been said it's like I've got something stuck up my backside. So maybe ventriloquism is an unknown talent I didn't know I had. So thanks to my puppet masters. Gentlemen, thank you very much for having me on the show for a short time. As has been pointed out, I am at the very far end of the internet from most of you down in Melbourne. So I've tried pulling the string on the can as tight as I can so that the audio comes through nice and high quality. But I think I will bid you guys adieu. Really great show. And again, I didn't get a chance to mention it to Grant when I knew that he came out with the books. But what a fantastic project. It's something that I would encourage everyone who's got young kids, if you having read book to my young nieces and nephews, absolutely get. I'm not sure how early I got cut off, but get them started on race cars early. They'll never have enough money for drugs. And on that note, I'm off for a drug that's free. I'm going to go do a night run / walk / stumble in the dark up Castle Hill. So I'll catch you guys all next week. Looking forward to another great show of In Pit Lane on Channel 31.
Thank you very much,
worries.
Dave.
Thanks
And
a
just
lot,
before
Dave.
you go, And make sure you enjoy your David Straussman workshop tomorrow on ventriculism as well too.
No worries.
Thanks, Dave.
In
Thanks,
Pit
Dave.
Lane's own version of Nina Cotty. Thanks, Dave. There, so yeah. Paul just pointing out for Richard, just saying that if Richard has anything to do with me, he's running the emergency vehicles channel. So hopefully you won't hear the name Richard Outram over the weekend, Paul. So.
Yeah, I can't remember Richard's number. I think it might be is it the 50s or the 30s? The number on the side of the car. It's been a while since we reviewed it. Exactly. So anyway, thanks Triple B. Yeah, it's good, Stilly, that he really, that's a big effort, because I really appreciate Dave joining us all the way up from Townsville and giving up his 5 minutes. I know he's was out of the box, and the string on the cans was a bit long. We've almost, I think, we've run out of string that piece, but it's good on him for actually joining us for 5 minutes. So and
the phone bill might be a doozy too.
And if you still can hear us watching, you're a lucky prick. Have fun up there.
Yeah, so that's it. Let's talk, just as you see rolling down the bottom, it'll remind me on the local level, as we said, Winton coming up this weekend. Later in the month, the next round of the Victorian State Series. It's been announced today that the field for Formula Ford is so good at the next round, because they're combined with the National Series for the next round at Sandown at the end of the month, that they're going to have two separate fields of Formula Ford, and one will be an all-Kent engined race as well. So you've got the Duratec cars in the National Series will be running in their own race, and there's about 15 or 16 of those, and there's a similar number of Kent engine cars of various vintage as well. So there's a couple, and also running again will be Formula Free, the old Formula Libra. Tim Macro's pulling that together, and there's all sorts of things, including possibly, in fact, almost certainly a couple of Formula 5000s that might get a run in, get a bit of practice in before the historic meeting later on in the year in November at Sandown. So
good. I'm glad to mention that. As you said, Brett, a big shout out to Tim Macro. He puts his heart and soul into motor racing. So he's a friend of the show as well. He always gives up his time if ever he sees us, and he says hi. And yeah, what he does behind the scenes in motorsport for up and comers, and he is so generous with what he can do with his resources, and doesn't mind sharing with people. So big shout out to Tim and his gang and what he's providing.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get Tim on at some stage to talk about a few of those things. I did reach out for him, but hadn't heard back from him at this stage. Just a reminder, as we said at the end of the program tonight, if you're a drag racing fan, particularly a local drag racing fan here in Melbourne, just on this coming Tuesday night we'll be recording, so you can watch the behind the scenes stuff, the recording of the show on the Facebook page, and then later in the week on Thursday night 9 o'clock on both Channel 31 Melbourne and the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Our guest will be Lance Warren, the guy who's bought into and bought out Eastgate Park Dragway, putting a lot of time and effort into getting that up and running again. And it's been announced that there are going to be some 400 Thunder sportsman rounds there in the months to come, and eventually the plan is that they will hopefully be able to bring the track up to standards, and we might see some top fuel drag racing back in Victoria sooner rather than later, of course. And then I
hope they slow down a little bit up there at Heathcote, because come summer that place is almost on fire. We've all been looking at the little updates that have been popping up from time to time, and every single week there is something being fixed or upgraded or professionally done. And we wish them all the best. And look, we've already got, there's a few drag racing circuits around the shop. We've got two big ones here in Victoria. They've got the potential to hold national series. So the more the merrier, I say. So we hope to...
hopefully we'll find out more about Calder Park, very soon. The work is being done. It's not as if people are saying, well, there's nothing happening. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes out at Calder. There's been a lot of repairs done, and I think it's just a matter of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and signing it all off before some money changes hands and all that, and then Pete and the team out at Calder Park Drag Racing Promotions will get the go ahead to say, okay, guys, we're getting back on the track, and and then we'll have two major drag strips. Fairly close to Melbourne, and then of course you've got South Coast Raceway, and you've got Mildura, great news. That's great news for drag racing, and of course coming up the Australian National Drag Racing Association, their national series starts in Darwin in a few weeks' time, and we'll have some more news on that next week on both this program and also on In Pit Lane. Hope to have some exciting news about that particular meeting and that series coming up next week on the program.
Well, Chad
let's
Reed
move
was,
on. Let's
Chad
move
was
on.
very pumped about it a couple of weeks ago, wasn't he?
Yep. So let's just let's move on, because we've got there, because I just want to show people the device, and there it is. This is the new Peugeot LMH, the Le Mans Hypercar, and as you can see, it's look, Mum, no wing. An amazing looking thing. In fact, I've got some other shots. Floating around here, and I'll just play this while we're in the background. So there you can see the front. It's not the most attractive car. Let's be honest. It's not the prettiest car you've ever seen, is it?
It's innovative. It's all about when you move in a particular motion, you need air to pass through as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, well, that's it, and that's the interior, by the way. That's the interior of a race car. So whether that lasts into the actual racing, I don't know. But
so if you look at the front splitter down the bottom there, it's almost using the same concept of what a Formula One diffuser has at the back, about moving the air into the right particular areas to be as efficient and productive as possible. And I'm sure, as we all know, every single micromillimeter on cars is completely analysed these days, whether it be wind tunnel or through, I suppose, the high-tech version of AutoCAD, on how it can provide to be a better car and faster car and more efficient. So, yeah, it looks like, unfortunately, the modern design of some cars these days aren't meant to be easy on the eyes. They're meant to provide a function.
The software would be called CATIA, by the way, Doc.
Thank you.
That's the finite model analysis and aerodynamics. Brett, if you just want to bring up those images again, have a look at the rear end and check out the way the lights have been done for the stoplights and whatever.
Yeah.
It looks like giant perspex bits that light up from inside. So the lights are also an aerodynamic element to control the flow of air at the back of it. So yeah,
and
Doc's right. That's
taillights,
been designed in a computer. It's like, and they've optimized everything. But that image, that's not going to survive the first driver who sits in there and sees the reflections of yellow all over the inside of the windscreen and goes, "I can't see."
Those taillights you just mentioned, Stuart, remind me of the doors of buildings that have exit signs on them, because that's the way light is projected through it on the perspex. Thank you for bringing that up, Stuart. That is spot on there. Don't you see that in modern day when you're walking around society these days? Exit signs, they have the lights projected through them. So you're spot on, Stuart.
Yep. That's it. It looks like something that's been designed. I mean, when they originally came out and said that they were coming back to Le Mans, they had sort of like an artist's impression of what the car might look like, and everybody sort of said, well, it's obviously the real thing isn't going to look anything like that. But it turns out it did look like something. Like that, but it'll be so fascinating to see it run. As I said, it's got I think it's a 2.6 V6. V6 turbocharged engine, and also, of course, an extra 200 kilowatt, 900 volt engine, apparently. So that's going to be driving the front.
It's a lot of volts out of a battery.
Yeah, and I'll just use a silly for a second, because usually Dave brings it up. Mr. Naka, Holy Ghost Batman.
We see Paul Van. comment there. But I would just like to point out that if the Pug was the new Batmobile, it'd be better than the C7 in the current Batwoman series. Have you seen that thing? It's pathetic. Okay.
No, thanks.
The Pug would make a much better superhero car.
Haven't seen it.
I'll have to look it up now.
Yeah, that's it. We'll have to check it out now. But it's going to be really interesting because, as I said, obviously that's going to join the Toyota, the Glickenhaus, and then all of those IMSA LMDH cars that are coming out from Porsche, from Audi, BMW. And there's rumours going around. There was an interesting rumour that was floated today, actually, from overseas, is rumours around that Ford might be looking at not running a dedicated sort of prototype as such, but basically, more or less hot rodding the GT, like taking advantage of hypercar rules and basically putting in some advanced aerodynamics, making it lighter, making it more powerful, and actually bringing back the Ford GT. And running it as a hypercar, so that would be interesting. So it looks like ultimately the ACO's vision for what hypercars could and should be is actually going to come true. So very exciting coming up. Incidentally, if you're a fan of sports car racing, coming up this weekend, the European Le Mans Series. James Allen, local driver, Melbourne driver, been on the program, friend of the show. He'll be in action there. They're running at Monza, and then the week after the World Endurance Championship is out at Monza as well. So they're running sort of a bit like Supercars. They're running week after week. So that'll be there. So that'll be on the weekend, and you'll be able to see. You'll be able to watch that at least in Australia on the In Pit Lane YouTube, on the In Pit Lane webpage. We'll have a link to all the action from Monza. Also coming up this weekend, the Goodwood Festival of Speed is on again. In fact, that's happening. That's happening as we speak. They've stretched it out over 4 or 5 days now. They have more your general motoring stuff on the Thursday and Friday, but the real competition up the hill gets the main stuff happens over the weekend. But be interesting to see. And one of the cars that's up there, speaking of Formula 5000s, I saw will be the ex-Frank Matic Repco McLaren M10B, his first Formula 5000, and that's been restored, and that's going to be up, but. That's going to be running up the Goodwood Hill as well, so it's a bit of local interest there. So that'll be happening. Paul pointing out, no word on the Australian Motor Racing Series at Winton in 2 weekends' time. Yeah, because that's not a state round; that is a national series, and there's a lot of cars, particularly Trans Am TA2. An awful lot of cars coming from it. Should be coming from interstate for that. So yeah. I think at this stage, whether that goes ahead might be a bit dodgy, but you would imagine that the state round at Sandown is probably safe at this stage. Although there would be some national competitors coming down for at least Formula Ford. So,
Speaking of everyone travelling around the traps, etc., like that, switching the subject slightly, I noticed a couple of the 2 wildcard entries in the Supercars have got finally agreed 3 days or 2 or 3 days. They've got Erebus will be heading up to Winton, which is their home test track anyway for Erebus. So they'll be there. And also Queensland Raceway will be the 888 entered wildcard of Ingle, etc. So that'll be get some bums in seats and get some great time and get a feel for the car, since the whole 4 of them have been out of the sequential gearbox for a while.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to get behind the wheel again. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, with someone like Russell Ingall, I mean, you would expect that he'll pick it up very quickly, and even though he's been out for quite some time. And his job will be in the same way that Paul Morris's job was, it's at Bathurst the last couple of years. He'll be just there. He'll be out, lapping reliably, lapping quickly, but hopefully not doing anything silly. Just getting around there and hopping into the car, and they'll set him a time, and he'll go out and he'll hit those times, and then hand the car ready to race.
Good thing about the Enforcer. he never used to go out. He used to, as you said, he's Mr. Consistent. He hardly ever gives a wall a rub or says hello to any of the concrete. The only time he goes out there and hits anything, not the lap times, is people he doesn't like. So he's been out of the game for a couple of years now. Hopefully, I assume so. He's a great bloke. I got my tongue in cheek if you catch up on this, Russell. But there's most of the field you get you don't dislike at the moment. So you'll go out there and I think he'll really probably enjoy himself along with all the other three other wildcarders out there, and probably they'll have more time. There's going to be a huge media focus on them, and everyone's going to want them to do well. But because it's a cameo appearance, I think they're really just going to enjoy the time and go for the drive. And look, anything in the top 10 will be a bonus for them because, they're not going to have the history, the setup, they're not going to have the data. I mean, they've got it from the team that they're going to be representing from, and they can use it from the other cars. And they've got a few days before the big dance on the Sunday. And of course, we all know anything can happen, but it comes back down to, remember, Bathurst in October is a sprint race these days. So I imagine the whole four guys are probably getting into some sort of fitness program at the moment without drinking too many ales.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean you've got to be fit in that game, and that's probably the thing. It's race fitness too. I mean you can put in all the time in the gym that you like, but I mean getting behind the wheel is a different. It's the same with any. It's the same with any sport, whether from boxers and all the rest of it. They come back with they say, well, I've got ring rust because they've just been out of the game for so long and they need to get a feel of it all again. But it'll be interesting to see this weekend. Of course, up at Townsville, if you want to have a look at it. Yes, obviously it's on KO, but also this is one of the Channel 7 meetings as well, so it will be on Channel 7 over the weekend as well. So it's
an FTA, free to wear one.
Yeah, free to wear one. So even us poor people are allowed to watch it. So that'll be nice. That'll be fun.
Bit of news. There's a bit of news in the paddock on the MotoGP circuit going on in the last week. A bit more than usual, which is for an off week or the summer break. Pedro Acosta is the leading point scorer in the championship for the Moto3. I haven't mentioned this year yet, but he's been it's been blazing saddles for Pedro, and he's struck up a friendship with our thriller, Jack Miller. Jack and Pedro get along in the paddock. They also have some mutual friends. Jack's personal manager is the team manager for Pedro's Red Bull team in the Moto3. But the little fella, he has absolutely been flying. He has won, I think it's 4 of the 9 races so far in MotoGP this year. Has constantly been in the top 8, even if he hasn't won it, and going into the summer break with 48 points. So this guy is a bit of a flash in the pan as far as Moto3 goes, because we all know how hard it can be when you've got those little 1.25 engines underneath you and you're having the slipstream, and your racecraft has to be perfect, because it really is a true sense of racing when you've got basically the same bike as everybody else. So it's all about strategy and your craft. So good luck to Pedro, and Jack has also said that he will be taking him under his wing and that he is welcome at any time to train with him. So all the best to Jack, and maybe even Jack could learn something off Pedro at the same time. Moving along as well, though, getting back to the top tier, Vinales is controversially, we announced, and the whole world found out in a bit of a shock, but at the same time we could see it coming because of his inconsistency. Yamaha and Vinales split with about 3 weeks ago at the end of the season, which is constantly looking like he may even pull one of the team. They might kick him out the team, or he might even leave at the minute. He has been linked to Aprilia, but in a great big fireball as well too, there is 1 seat left at Ducati next year amongst the 8 seats of the factory team. There's 2, and there's also 6 seats in satellite team. Ducati has showed some interest. Before he signed with Yamaha in his contract a couple of years ago, Ducati were hounding him then, and they had talks at that stage. and hopefully we're trying to secure him. However, he went with Yamaha, which hasn't worked out. So if he's got two choices now. So hopefully he plays his cards right and finds himself on a good seat on a Ducati or a Aprilia. And last but not least, a former champion of the sport, and a race winner at MotoGP level, not necessarily championship, but was in the Repsol Honda team for many years and well adorned. He didn't deal with the media very well. He struggles with that, but he's a hell of a nice guy. So Danny Peugeot has dropped back to World Superbikes in the last couple of years, but because of his constant test riding for KTM and also keeping his finger in the pie MotoGP, he is on the cards for a possible KTM wildcard at the MotoGP level, and he is more than qualified to jump on those two wheels and put it through its paces, especially with the form that KTM has had so far this year. So, yeah, good luck to Danny, Vinales, whatever path he takes, and Jack for helping out a kid at the Moto3 level. So a big roundup of MotoGP stuff this week as well too.
And as we saw, there's going to be another event has been added at the Agave circuit to replace the Australian Grand Prix at Phillip Island, and the Malaysian Grand Prix is being moved a week earlier in that shuffle, providing of course the Malaysian Grand Prix goes ahead as well. So yeah, it's obviously things are still up in the air with everything with COVID and all the rest of that stuff. So I think that it's one of those things that we're just got to be patient, and we'll get through all of this, and hopefully by this time next year, things will be back to some degree of normality. But one more little bit
of news I'd like to just touch on as well, though, too, for people to check out is, we like to stay on a finger on the pulse here at In Pit Lane. Brett's usually always got great links. So always check those out for stuff like the Goodwood Festival of Speed. I saw you put that on the In Pit Lane on our Facebook page. But all the big news has been surrounding who's going to own supercars, whether by the end of the year or next year, or what percentage, and who's the favourite. And there's 5 runners in it. Little story come out today, a little bit under the radar, about Queensland Raceway, and Tony Quinn was looking to buy it, and unofficially last year it was sold under a handshake deal, and it was going to happen. But I'd like to find out what's going on behind the scenes in this one, because John Tetley has decided he doesn't want to sell Queensland Raceway. He's going to keep it to himself for the time being and put in some upgrades, because I don't think Tony's got his nose out of joint, but he wasn't screwed into the world. But he was intending on spending about $10 million and upgrading it, including a lot of favourable changes to the track and also accessibility for everybody. So that's hopefully John's got the best thing in mind for Queensland Raceway, and hope it goes on to bigger and better things as well too.
Yeah, look, it would have to be a massive turnaround in terms of John Tetley spending money on it and doing the right thing in terms of that. Unfortunately, it's a real shame, because Tony Quinn, as he's well and truly proven in New Zealand, he's got the money, he's got the passion, he's got a great vision for the sport and for those venues. It would have been a fabulous. What he was planning would have been a fabulous thing for both Queensland Raceway and hopefully for Lakeside as well. But unfortunately, yeah, as Paul says, someone introduced Tony to Rodney.
Thanks, Knackers.
Yeah, that would be that. Well, he would be the perfect person. I mean, in terms of because he wouldn't be daunted by it at all. I mean, he would look at that venue and say, right. And the thing is, if Tony Quinn looks at something and says this is going to be done and that's going to be done, it's not going to be sort of kite flying. It's not going to be blue sky mining stuff. It will get done.
You'd have midnight oil will be there. Blue sky mining. Yep.
So,
absolutely.
He would be the ideal person. I mean, if someone was going to take over, Calder Park or pretty much any racetrack in Australia now, it's either Tony Quinn or the Shaheens from South Australia. And I do believe off the record. It was, I don't know whether it's true or not, but it was told to me by someone in some authority that Shaheen actually did approach Rodney Jane about the possibility of buying Calder Park, but was basically told no, it's not for sale. So
That's
Yeah,
probably standard line for everyone and may stay like that for a long time before we go 6 feet under. So as you said, Tony, congratulations on the work you've done on the tracks over there in New Zealand. You've got massive rave reviews from the people that go to the venues as a spectator or as a competitor. So I know you're a Scott-born guy, but you're a true blue Aussie, Tony. You do some great stuff for it and keep on doing it, mate. Everything you've done, you listen to people and you do it the right way. So maybe hopefully Tony could come on and join us one day and talk about his.
We would have to change the ratings of the show, as we found out on every occasion. We've had Tony on the show in one form or another. I mean, thankfully he's never been on live, because I tell you what, an interview with Tony Quinn can involve a lot of editing.
He can spice it up, but look, there's nothing wrong with a bit of fun. Look, he's just a colourful man. What's wrong with that?
He is a
colourful racing identity.
Yeah, colourful racing. Very much a
StreamYard got a dump button.
Yeah.
I think it may need
Thanks,
one.
Mad Cow. Good on you. He agrees with us. So yeah, but look, that's all right. We could make it an hour interview, and you might still get 5 minutes out of it.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. I mean, the thing is with Tony, I mean, in all the interviews we've done with him over the years, he doesn't hold back. He's a bit like, he's a bit like John Davison in that respect. I mean, the filter doesn't apply. I mean, he tells you, he calls a spade a bloody shovel, and he will tell you exactly, like what's happening and his opinion of it. He's not going to hold back, and he's not politically correct, and he's not playing games. I mean, he's just a man who's really passionate about his motorsport, and thankfully, as a good businessman and all that, he's managed to acquire some decent money, and rather than just whack it in the bank and spend it on luxury yachts. I mean, imagine he's got the odd luxury yacht as well, but I mean, basically he wants to spend it on his great passion, which is motorsport. And as I said, what he's done in New Zealand is fantastic. Highlands is incredible, and the improvements he's made to Hampton Downs. I mean, Hampton Downs was a terrific race meeting when we were over there, but they could never quite finish it to the level that they wanted to, and Tony jumped in and help with that. So I think it's a real shame that he didn't get hold of Queensland, because I think he would have done an awful lot for that track.
Since he's not with us right now, but hopefully we can catch up with him down the track, I'll just filter him for a second. Remember, everybody out there, a PC is not necessarily a computer.
And on that piece of philosophy, whatever it means, I think we will say that
a poor Northern Territory Cup.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us tonight. I hope we'll see you next week. As I said, remember, if you're here in Melbourne and you're particularly a drag racing fan, remember Lance Warren will be our guest this coming week on In Pit Lane next Thursday night at 9 o'clock on Channel 31 and on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Or as per usual, you can join us behind the scene and watch us record the program live Tuesday nights from the studios of RMI TV in the heart of the city. So that's on the In Pit Lane Facebook page at around 9 o'clock, a bit before 9 o'clock every Tuesday night. So thanks everybody for joining us once again.
If you want to, don't forget, if you tune in next week, we're just going to tune in just to see what loud shirt that Brett's going to wear next week, and what out of 10 volume you turn it up to. And good kudos with you. I reckon you've been to the stylist today too, Brett. That mohawk is really rocking as well tonight.
Yeah, the hair. I've had a big day. I've bought loud shirts, had a haircut, and had some Vietnamese food. So
you're out there.
I've had a really good day today, and as Mad Cow is there, and Mad Cow Mark knows something that a lot of people
that was the PC.
Yeah,
yes.
we will. We'll see you. We will see you in NT, Mark. So. And we'll see all of you back here next week on Full Course Yellow. So thanks a lot for joining us again. We really appreciate it. And remember, Goodwood Festival of Speed and the European Le Mans Series this week on the In Pit Lane Facebook page, In Pit Lane YouTube channel, and the In Pit Lane webpage. But apart from that, from all of us here, Stuart's left us already. So I think it's time to say good night. Good night. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
All right.
See you.